Okay, let's commence our lecture to save time because we still need some rest. The very reason why we are unable to have lecture last weekend, I'm sorry about that. Okay, our today's topic centers on CSR and then social footprints. That's the two basic things that we are looking at this afternoon. CSR, corporate social responsibility, and social footprint. So to start with, you have to look at the overview, the general overview of what CSR is all about, and the simple definition that we can give to CSR. CSR can be simply defined as the responsibility of a corporate organization that is centered on rendering selfless services to the community. So, what we call CSR can be broadly defined as the decision making of the company that is linked to ethical values, compliance, and with legal requirements, and respect for people, community, and the environment. So when you look at this ongoing definition that we have here, the definition stated that CSR can be generally referred to as a business decision making linked to ethical values, compliance with legal requirements, respect for people, community, and the environment. It's a very robust definition that informs us that what we call CSR is a responsibility of the company to the society, community, the environment, the shareholders, the stakeholders, the government, and compliance. That's the reason why we see that legal requirement in that definition. So the definition is CSR is being done primarily values. That ethical values should to fulfill the ethical expectation of society, the investor likes. So because company must operate with moral, ethics, fairness, and integrity. Secondly, with legal requirements of CSR is done in a way to show greater compliance and commitment to socio-economic development and environmental sustainability. CSR is being done with respect to people. People here means our employees, it means our customers, it means the vendors, the investors, it means the distributors. So company must be responsible to all these people that we tag as people here. If you don't use the word people here, you can use the word society, or you use the word public. CSR must be directed towards improving the welfare of the larger communities. We call them the host community that allow the company to establish and have a successful business. Because of that social contract, then company must be responsible to the host community, and at the same time they must contribute immensely to environmental sustainability. So with that we can say that CSR is therefore closely linked to ethical behavior. So corporate organizations that have an artificial life must act in an ethical way within and outside the organization. And in doing our CSR, we must avoid fallacious claims. A lot of companies are not doing any meaningful CSR, but they communicate it. It reflects in their AGM report. All these acts are what we call greenwashing, fallacious claims, CSR communication without implementation. We must avoid this. So CSR, to round it up, can simply be defined again as the voluntary responsibilities that the company engage in to better the life of the society, their employees, the shareholders, and the larger community. So with that, you can move to the second paragraph that informs us that CSR simply means that the company go further than required by law. You can see the gravity of that statement. That statement is informing us that despite the fact that there is no law that compel, no law that stipulates that is a must, company must do this to the society, company must do this to the host community, company must do this to the government, yet a lot of companies find it in fit on moral and ethical value that CSR is necessary. So CSR refers to the company spirited effort that made them to go further than required by law in order to, one, treat employees fairly and with respect. That is the missing link. A lot of people in the past, they felt that CSR only refers to the responsibility to the external people, maybe the host community and what have you. No, CSR equally cover your responsibility to your employees. Consider number one, treat employees fairly and respect. So with our CSR, we must ensure we provide a conducive working atmosphere for our staff. We must guarantee them job and pay security. We must ensure promotion as at when due. With respect, we must recognize their trade union if there is any. Two, we must operate in an ethical way and with integrity. So ethical way means that our relationship must be a sort of relationship that is unbiased. We must have a good dealings, fair competition. We must act in ethical way with all our numerous customers, suppliers, and the lenders. Number three, CSR also cover the respect for human rights, avoidance of indiscriminate sack, compliance with labor law. CSR also covers the decision to sustain the environment for future generation. That is the contribution, commitment, and compliance with environmental sustainability goals. All companies are employed to make significant contributions and compliance to laws. You must avoid environmental pollution. You must see to protection of the ozone layer. We have to see to reduction of the carbon emission. You must see to environmental protection. We must produce hygienic products, if possible, green production. So CSR here also tell us to be responsible for our neighbors in the community and be a good corporate citizen. That is what I call social responsibility. Because this community has given us opportunity to commence our business, nurture the business grew, we are successful. They give us access to resources, light, manpower. So the only way we can pay back and say thank you to this host community is by engaging in CSR through the provision of basic infrastructural facilities, employment generation, uh, security support, support for SMEs, women entrepreneurship support, educational support. So all these are part of the things that we call support for the community and avoidance of pollution or any harmful method of production. So what are the objectives of CSR? The few objectives of CSR, as I put here, is one, to boost corporate reputation. So we engage in CSR to increase our goodwill, to have a positive, favorable corporate image, and position our company positively in the minds of the larger society. Two, to promote brand equity, to promote our brand quality, value, and positioning. We are doing CSR to attract new investors. Four, to meet and satisfy the shareholders' expectations. Because this type of CSR is one of the expectations of the shareholders that owns and finance the organization because they believe with the CSR, it shows ethical and moral compliance. With CSR, it will give them good reputation. So with CSR, it will improve the company competitiveness and brand acceptability. So another objective of engaging in CSR is to build reciprocal relationship with the public. I've informed you that the public here means the government, the customer, the consumer, the vendors, our shareholders, our stakeholders. So in that E, when we engage in CSR, it promotes reciprocal, that is mutually benefiting relationship with the larger public of the society. And this one will directly or indirectly improve our business performance, patronage, and profitability. CSR is equally done to achieve positive social footprint, and it is being engaged on to fulfill the social contract expectations. Communities, the larger society are expecting complaint to give back to the society in form of CSR. So in line with these objectives, when the CSR is truly implemented without any bias or fallacious claims, then we deserve to gain the following benefits. Some of the benefits, expected benefits of CSR are one, it enhances corporate goodwill or reputation. Two, it enhances brand equity, positioning, and acceptability. Because companies that do CSR genuinely, customers, the public, the community are always proud to associate themselves with that brand. Just about 2 weeks ago, Access Bank, as part of their culture and commitment to CSR, they display a high level of commitment again this year through their annual February 25 marathon. That is a CSR directed towards sports development. And it has given that Access Bank global brand acceptability, recognition, and equity. And exactly what this number two is telling us that CSR, be it is on sport, agriculture, women development, entrepreneurial, or what have you, promote what we call brand equity, brand positioning, and brand acceptability. Because people will accept that brand, they will recognize it, they will associate themselves with it. There won't be any incidents of brand avoidance. So that's what I'm trying to say in that number two. So CSR2, another benefit is that it promotes brand recognition and customers' loyalty. Apart from that, CSR improve financial and non-financial performance of the company because it attracts a lot of new investors. It brings about good relationship with the society and the government. It promotes strategic alliance. You can see a lot of people that promote their products through their brand through that uh, Access Bank Marathon. You see the likes of 7 Up and what have you, because their water has become the official water for the marathon on a yearly basis. So CSR promotes good relationship with the public, attracts new investors. It attracts new investors and potential customers. A lot of customers that have not been buying our product before, through this CSR, good reputation, the favorite. I need response, please.
Welcome back.
Okay, thank you. So we are looking at the benefits of CSR before the network was interrupted. So we said the benefit of CSR is that CSR increase the company goodwill or reputation. I mean, like I can use the word image. CSR promotes brand equity. It brings about brand positioning and brand acceptability. Even for companies that are having difficulty in establishing their brand, the companies that are experiencing fluctuating demand or that want to redeem their image, maybe organizational image or the brand image. With CSR, we can do that to enhance our brand acceptability and redeem the corporate image. So CSR promotes brand recognition, and at the same time, it equally promotes what we call brand loyalty. So with CSR, companies stand to gain, improve and increasing competitive advantage. And at the same time, there is an opportunity to gain reciprocal relationship with the entire public. And I've informed you that reciprocal relationship means mutually benefiting relationship. When we give back to the society, they associate with us, they patronize us, they give favorable word of mouth about us, and we have what we call significant positive social footprint. So having look at that, so we look at the critical aspect of CSR. The critical aspect of CSR. So, what are those critical aspects of CSR? So, we must know here, please, that the critical aspect of CSR here, in exam condition, if this word critical aspect is not used, they can use the word dimensions of CSR, or they can use the word component of CSR, or ICAN can use, the examiner can use the word element of CSR. Be it we call it critical dimension element, what it implies is that what are the strategic areas that our CSR can be directed to? Now, what are the areas that company can invest their energy, their resources, profit on to carry out CSR? In the course of our lecture, we mentioned Access Bank, that there are areas that they have chosen as their own target area that they want to create value is the area of sports development, which is yearly marathon. We have some companies that look at areas of agricultural support, some in the area of women entrepreneurship, some banks, the likes of Standard Chartered banks and what have you, areas of health care. They do free surgery, eye surgery every year. So the critical aspects of social responsibility are one, ethical responsibility. By that ethical responsibility, the company acts in an ethical way and promotes good ethical conduct within and outside the organization. And when we say a company is ethically responsible, it implies that the company operates in an honest, right way and fair. They are fair to their employees, they are fair to the investors, they are fair to their workers, they are fair to the community, they are equally fair to the government because they refrain, distance themselves from unethical or illegal acts. Even in time of competition, they engage in fair competition. They don't engage in any activities directly or indirectly that can damage the reputation of their competitors. So ethical responsibility is one of the dimensions of CSR. Two, labor responsibility. We have mentioned this not quite long. In the labor responsibility, it is expected of a company to treat its employees and other stakeholders fairly and with respect. In the labor responsibility, we are expected to comply with all labor's law, employment policy. We have to comply with the employment policy. We have to recognize the trade union of the workers. We have to provide a good working conditions. Improve the capacity development of your staff through training and other developmental programs. These are the way we can give back to our employees. That is what we call labor responsibility. Apart from the legal responsibility, we have what we call legal responsibility. We have legal responsibility. Sorry for that pause. I'm trying to check if the network is still on. Under the legal responsibility, that one just expect company to demonstrate total respect, commitment, and compliance to all stipulated laws, regulations, and code of corporate governance. In the legal responsibility, there must be compliance with the constitutional provisions, compliance with agency law. For instance, a bank now must comply with CBN guidelines or directives, compliance with BOFIA law, bank and other financial institutions. So all these things are what we call legal responsibility. Philanthropy responsibility, you can cite any example here. You need not crime anything. In the philanthropy responsibility, it implies that company must be generous, be responsible, must be a cheerful giver and shaper of the society by providing educational support, community support, provision of pipe-borne water, electricity, employment creation, support for the less privileged, support for the socially, fiscally challenged students or people. All these things are what we call philanthropy responsibility. And it's not limited to the community alone. We have instances whereby some companies donate substantial amount of money to the Nigerian police force. They buy them a lot of vehicles to equip them and improve their security measures and patrols. All these things are what we call philanthropic or social responsibility. So, economic responsibility, part of our economic responsibility is to ensure that we engage in activities and business that can improve the economic viability of Nigeria. We pay our taxes at when due. For the payment of tax, we enable government to have revenue that they can invest in the economy. Because all this money that we are paying to, if well spent, they bring about economic viability and development. So companies are expected to contribute immensely towards economic growth and development. Environmental responsibility. Under the environmental responsibility, it is the duty of the company to ensure that they contribute towards environmental sustainability goals. It is the duty of the company to ensure that they engage in environmental protection. A company that is socially responsible must reduce pollution of air, pollution of land, pollution of rivers and sea. These are some of the things that cause crisis in the Middle Belt, crisis in the Bayelsa the other time. Because a lot of these multinational companies are coming there. They don't have respect for the environment. They exploit the resources of these states without giving back. Some of them even engage in fallacious claims. They damage their sea, the roads are damaged without any form of compensation. So we have to ensure that all our mode of operations, mode of production too, must not engage or endanger the life of the society. So we have to ensure we put in place ways of salvaging or managing waste so that all these ones will not cause environmental nuisance that will harm the life of the occupants, which are the community. So what are the steps in the implementation of CSR? This particular subtopic came out early 2020. I don't know if it's 2021 or 2022 that ICAN require that the students should outline, they should list the steps required in implementation of social responsibility. There are just 5. So the steps required in the implementation of social responsibility are the following. 1, we must identify the ethical value. Company must identify its ethical values and publish it as a code of ethics. We must have ethical values, and these our ethical values must be published for the consumption of the entire public. It's not for internal consumption of the staff alone. Both the staff, the customer, the community, the government, the general public must know what we stand for, our core values. That is number 1. Number 2, we must establish the company current position with regard to CSR value and decide on the position it would like to attain in the future. What is our current position in terms of CSR? Our current position should be that our company pay greater value and commitment to CSR. And currently, we have invested a lot of money in the areas of private sport development, environmental sustainability, or entrepreneurship. And we would like to probably sustain this or improve or expand on this in the future. That is what number 2 is telling us. In number 3 steps, we have to develop a realistic targets and strategy for implementing CSR policy. Realistic targets. What are the realistic targets? Is it the customers? Is it our suppliers, the shareholders, the stakeholders, the community, the government, or all of them? And what are the strategies we want to put in place to ensure that our CSR reach out to all these target audience? In number 4, the company CSR achievement should be communicated to key stakeholders. It's one of the basic requirements. Even when we are doing our AGM, there must be report on CSR. So government should look at all these areas, because some of the areas of CSR too, they are tax exempted. So number 4 is telling us that we must communicate our CSR achievements. We must report it. While the last one is that the company CSR achievement should be monitored. We have to monitor it, and we have to ensure that we give it a follow-up. And we compare our achievements of CSR with that of our basic major competitors. So that one will create a more drive for us. It will give us that drive for us to be more inquisitive, to do more in terms of CSR, so that we can be able to have competitive edge over all our major rivals in the industry. So what are the implications of CSR? The implication of CSR here, there are things that we can write on our own, or probably you can use the benefit of CSR to answer this, or you can fine-tune your objective of CSR to answer this. So the implication of CSR is that 1, corporate social responsibility. I want to give you one clue there. Corporate social responsibility needs to demonstrate that genuine commitment. So meaning that one of the basic implications of CSR is that it promotes genuine commitment to the company social responsibility. It shows the genuine commitment of the company to their vision and mission statement. Another implication of CSR is that it aligns the company's strategic planning to ethical, moral, and objective of the company. So another implication of CSR is that CSR help to avoid reputational damage and promote corporate image. Any company that truly adopted formal environmental policy, they act in an ethical way, the company invests on their staff development, the company give back to the society, they pay their taxes at when due, they make a philanthropy responsibility. Such companies have good corporate image. And this go a long way for the company to gain sustainable growth, competitiveness, and brand equity. Another implication of CSR is that CSR attracts expertise, it attracts potential workers, it helps us to retain existing loyal customers too, if well implemented. Because when you look at that paragraph 3, we say ethics also affect a company policy to its employees. If a company has a formal policy of providing secure employment, fair wages and salary, including good working conditions to its employees, this policy might affect strategic decisions about relocating businesses and making staff redundant. So if a company is socially responsible to their staff, their shareholders and stakeholders, it will bring about industrial harmony, it brings about customers retention and attraction of new scale and potential, because people will be willing to work in that organization. A lot of people will like to invest their money in such organization. So all these things are what we call the implication of CSR. So CSR has positive implication for the company if truly implemented without any fallacious claims. So another implication of CSR, if directed towards environmental protection, is that CSR policy enhance protection of the environment and employee safety. So having looked at that, we look at the meaning of strategic selection. He said, what is the meaning of strategic selection? What is the meaning of formal evaluation and enforced strategy in the syllabus? So strategic selection uh, is among those topics that I gave you last week. We are unable to have a lecture, so I sent some materials to you to cover for last weekend lecture. So that lecture material contain balance scorecard, business plan, performance pyramid, Fitzgerald and mood, and I think strategic selection was among the topics that selected that I gave to you last week. So what we call strategic selection is that the strategic selection simply means the ability of a company to assess all the available strategies and make a choice. But in strategic selection, before choice making, we must ensure that we determine the strategy suitability, because the process of strategic selection requires the assessment of the strategy suitability. Is it suitable to the company vision and mission statement? Is the strategy aligned with our mode of operation? Is the strategy bring about what we call strategic fit? Will it permit economic of scope? So we must look at the suitability of the strategy and at the same time look at the feasibility of the strategy. The only thing that we are trying to look at in the feasibility of the strategy is to look at how profitable the strategy, if it is more than one strategy that we want to implement, how profitable are these strategies and the risks attached. Because any strategy that is profitable and the level of risks attached is too high for the company to bear, we can drop that strategy. It's not a good strategy of choice that we can select. Because any strategy that is beyond the risk appetite of the company, under ethical stand, it is not a good strategy. So we must look at the profitability and the ratio of risks of that strategy. That's what we call feasibility. And the last one is acceptability of the different strategy. Before we implement or adopt the strategy, that strategy must be accepted by all the shareholders. That should be deliberated at the board of directors meeting, and the strategies have to be ratified. I haven't checked the suitability, feasibility, acceptability, profitability, the risks attached. So any strategy that is not profitable, any strategy that the level of the risk is high and even beyond the risk appetite of the company, such a strategy must not be selected. So the company must select strategy that is suitable, feasible, and acceptable. And that strategy that fall within the permissible of our resources. Because if the strategy is profitable, in time of risk, it has less risk, but we don't have the resources to achieve it, then such a strategy is not a good strategy. In a good strategy selection, you must select a strategy that will have the resources, competency, core competency to implement and achieve positive results. So then what we call formal evaluation. The formal evaluation is in line with strategic evaluation. So the formal evaluation simply means that we have to look at the strategy. Selection of the strategy must be based on formal financial evaluation. That is key. Even the essence of establishing a business is to make and maximize profit and increase the wealth of the shareholders. So we have to evaluate the financial gains of the strategy. And at the same time, we have to evaluate the expected returns and the risks. I've emphasized and re-emphasized that risk. It is very, very important. So in our formal evaluation, we are evaluating the financial evaluation of the business, the expected returns, the risks attached to the business in both the short, medium, and long time. So next to that, we look at enforced choice. Please, if they don't use the word enforced choice, the most common word is enforced strategy. Enforced strategies. Take note of that. Enforced choice or enforced strategy. You can get it somewhere. Enforced strategy. So that it won't be in exam, you not see enforced choice. They use commonly the word enforced strategy. Enforced strategy, to summarize it because of time, they are strategies that the company adopt or adopted out of no choice. You can see the word enforce, more or less impose strategy. In enforced choice or enforced strategy, the company made the choice of that strategy. The company adopted that strategy. Maybe probably one of the major shareholders of the company is interested in that strategy. Or we discover that one of our major competitors in the same industry or outside the industry, they have used that strategy and it's working for them. It can be raised in the board of directors. The shareholders might be interested in the directors adopting and implementing the same strategy, having looked at the suitability, feasibility, and acceptability of it. So in enforced strategy, in paragraph 2, Apart from the shareholders' interest in some strategies, I put it there that, moreover, enforced strategy might be adopted due to inevitability and threat of external uncontrollable forces. That's some things that is beyond us. We don't have any choice than to use that strategy. And this might come as a result of the external threat or shock that emanate from the uncontrollable forces, such as government policy, economic condition, and probably the company is using that enforced strategy because of the quest to address declining performance. When the government policy is harsh, is not favorable, or put us in a situation, in a very tight corner that we have to take some drastic decision, or the economic situation that we are in Nigeria presently now, which is a harsh economic situation, and we are experiencing hyperinflation. This might make the company to make some enforced choice of strategy. Typical example of these cases are downscoping. So I put this example for you to know the implication of the enforced choice of strategy. Downscoping. Downscoping means the closure of some companies' branches, units, or outlets due to certain condition. Might be as a result of declining sales, declining profitability, loss of customers' patronage, fluctuating demand. So, or that unit or branch or that product they are selling in that regional sales outlet is not attracting any customers' patronage again. We can down scope, close the outlet totally. Or downsizing. Downsizing can occur due to this present economic situation. The rich also cry. The companies too, they are feeling the heat. Their profit has been streamlined. There is a persistent and increasing cost of raw materials and operational expenses. So due to that, they might decide to reduce the staff strength. The economic situation or government policy can bring about enforced choice or strategy of price increase. It can lead some organization to engage in any form of alliance, such as merger and acquisition. This is ongoing in the banking industry presently now. So that is what we call enforced choice. The syllabus require that we should know the meaning of learning and experience. So I don't want us to waste much time on that. What we call experience are acquired over time. Experience, experience are acquired because that experience must reflect in their ability to capture business opportunity. That experience that they've acquired over time must improve the company competency, core competency, and dynamic capability. So the experience will give the company opportunity for more advancement in growth and increase in assets. While on the other hand, learning refers to acquisition of new ideas, acquisition of new ideas. So that is what we call learning. It might be acquisition of new ideas, acquisition of new knowledge that bring about improvements in the old knowledge that we have. It might be acquisition of technical knowledge. It might be acquisition of business knowledge. So anytime we have learning, learning helps us to improve our operational business activities. Learning helps us to reduce redundancy at work. Learning enhance the delegation and acceptance by the employees, and it reduces the business risks. of any organization and their employees. So what are the principles of CSR? Principles of CSR. Some of the principles of CSR are these. One, a company should operate in an ethical way and with integrity. Is a principle. So acting in a moral, ethical way and with integrity is a major principle of CSR. Two, a company should treat its employees fairly and with respect. That's the second principle of CSR. Number three principle is that a company should demonstrate respect for basic human rights. You must not engage in child labor. You must not engage in ultra business. Another principle of CSR is that a company should be responsible to its citizen and its community. Give back to the community through healthcare, infrastructural development, educational support. These are what we call principle. Another principle, which is a fundamental principle, is that a company should do what it can to sustain the environment for the future generation. Our stress is that is what we call environmental sustainability goals and commitment. And this can be achieved through reduction of pollution of all form, air, land, river pollution. Two, it can be reduced through what we call use of renewable energy resources, recycling, resalvaging. So when we can do all this, then we have abide with the principle of CSR. So CSR and stakeholders in the organization. Anytime we are talking on CSR and stakeholders in the organization, we are telling you that the stakeholders in the company, they are the categories of people that have interest in the activities of the company and success of the company. These stakeholders are influenced by the company activities and strategy, and at the same time, they can equally influence the company policy. So the company policy equally affect the stakeholders. So all stakeholders that is interested in a company, they always want their companies to be socially responsible, all because they are interested in the governance in that organization. So in the stakeholders view of CSR, we are informed that companies should not be socially responsible to only the shareholders, but rather, what happened? A company has responsibilities not only to its shareholders, but also to its employees, the customers, the suppliers, and the society at large. So what we are saying in this caption, CSR and stakeholder, is that the company social responsibility must not be only directed to the shareholders alone, but must be extended to other stakeholders. So the effect of CSR on a company, we have discussed on that. That is when we discuss about the implication of CSR. This has been discussed. We have discussed this effect of CSR on a company strategy. But that notwithstanding, maybe we should just look at it again. The effect of CSR on a company strategy. Let me summarize that. The effect of CSR on a company strategy is that CSR, if well implemented, I've told you, boosts corporate reputation and reduce reputational damage of the company. So in CSR, another effect of CSR is that it helps the company to respond to changes in the expectations of the customers. Meaning that if the company do a CSR that the customer truly perceive positive, so that will bring about reinforcement of positive behavior by the customers. And this will reflect in patronage and acceptability of the company's brand. So another effect of CSR is that it will make the company to be aware of the government and ethical value and the global value of environmental sustainability. So it will help us to direct or channel our resources, our goals on environmental protection. And once we can be able to do this one will give us opportunity to have a positive image in the minds of the larger society. CSR true, in paragraph 3, the effect of it is that any company that fails to show concern for the social and environmental issue, they will suffer a damage to their reputation. So lack of involvement or commitment to CSR brings about reputational damage, and it doesn't end there. Suffer a damage to their reputation and the possible loss in the long time. What is that loss? Possible loss of sales and profits. So that tells you that CSR has significant effects on the company performance. So the formulation of CSR here is the same thing as the implementation of CSR. Formulation of CSR, you can recall, I informed you that we have about 5 basic steps in implementation of CSR. The first one is that we must identify our ethical value and communicate it. We should develop a realistic target for our CSR. We should identify those people that could benefit from our CSR. So we have discussed this. But I only use the word formulating here because of recent in the exam, the ICAN used the students should outline the basic steps in CSR implementation by corporate entity. And one of the past questions, they use the word formulation of CSR policy. Now, what are the basic steps in formulating CSR policy? More or less a repetition. It's just that name that changed, steps, formulating. So, despite the fact that we have looked at it, let's quickly glance through it. It won't take us much time. It's an added value. So, the following steps might be taken by a company to implement. You can see the word implement there. Telling you it's the same thing. To implement a CSR policy, 1, a company should decide its code of ethical value and publish this code of ethics. You can see I've said this. The same thing in our number 2. Our number 2 says that we should determine our current position with regards to CSR values and decide on which position do we want to take now and in the future. Maybe it's in the area of sport development, agricultural support, entrepreneurial support, educational support, employment creation, healthcare support. That is what number 2 is saying. And I've informed you of all this. So the formulation of CSR policy and implementation of CSR policy, they are the same thing. Another title of interest is this. That is argument against CSR. Argument against CSR. We have 2 schools of thoughts. Some school of thoughts, they strongly disagree that CSR is a waste of money and resources. That is the view of the school of thought. The father of that school of thought is Freddie Friedman. The man says that CSR is a waste of money. It's a word that's supposed to be deleted. or because it is not the responsibility of a business entity to carry out CSR. So some of the arguments of this school of thought I've summarized this for you to have easy understanding. So the argument against CSR, look at number one. They said companies are paying taxes and other dues to the government, and they expect the government to utilize the revenue for socio-economic development. What does that mean? They are saying that day in, day out, companies are paying taxes to the government. They pay some dues to the government. At times, they pay multiple taxation to the government. So what are government doing with this money? We are expecting the government to use all the revenue generated through tax and dues to impact meaningfully on the societal well-being, on socio-economic development, security, education. So we can't be paying all these tax and you're not coming back to us to take out of our own limited profit to give back to the society again or to go and build roads. These are what the government is supposed to do with the tax. That is the first argument. Two, they say businesses are set up to make and maximize profit. That the objective of a business enterprise is to make and maximize profit and increase the wealth of the shareholders that have used their sweat capital to establish a business. They finance it. At times, they are faced with some risks and make a lot of losses. So how come we are not telling us that we should be responsible to society and not the owner of the business? Number three, complaints employ labor from the society. This is an argument, justification, when they are saying that companies are drawing energy from society. They don't want to be responsible. They don't want to respect the social contract. They say no, that is a wrong perception. That companies, our own company, we employ labor from the society. We train them. We give them scholarship at times. We give them good salary. They have opportunity for gratuity and many benefits. So in a way, we are giving back to the society. Another point, they say charity has no place to sit as a boardroom, meaning that the companies are not open or established as a charitable organization. So what are the arguments in support of CSR? Because I would have loved to continue with that because time will not permit. We have just 30 minutes left. Argument in support of CSR. The first argument is that a healthy business cannot take place or grow in a sick society. Meaning that if the society where you are doing your business is sick, automatically your own business is sick. So the best way is for us to contribute to the society. Number 2 point is that government cannot do everything. As a result of that, companies, they are persuading them, they still have to complement the effort of the government in the area of security, education, entrepreneurship development, the area of tax payments, so that they can assist the government in some areas where they are deficient. Even in the areas of rehabilitation of roads and the rest, security support. And because of social contracts, number 3, because the society too are patronizing the company, they give them land, resources, so companies are expected to be socially responsible. And the last one, they say companies draw energy and resources from the society, and as a result of that, they must give back to the society. So having a look at that, so we quickly proceed by looking at the 7-level classification by Gray, Owen, and Adams. So in exam condition, this is how you are going to see the title in exam. You'll be required to discuss on Gray, Owen, and Adams 7-level classifications and perception about CSR. And if they bring Adams first instead of Gray, you see the same. You are going to see these three names in the exam that discuss comprehensively on Adams, Gray, and Owen, or Gray, Owen, and Adams, 7-level classifications or perceptions about CSR. So, trust me, I will do justice and summarize it. The 7-level classification by Gray, Owen, and Adams, they are framework that this scholar use to summarize the different perceptions, opinions, and contributions about the relationship between the company and the society with respect to CSR. So this classification too also discuss the perception of the company board of directors, shareholders, stakeholders, employees, vendors about CSR. But their perceptions or opinion is divided into 7 and given different names. The first one that we have is 1, pristine capitalist view. What is the view of this group of people or school of thought about the need for CSR? The pristine capitalist view, they are of the opinion that the issue of CSR should not be promoted. The pristine capitalist view are saying that we still insisted that government should be responsible for CSR to the society and not the company. In the pristine capitalist view, they said the only responsibility of the company, look at this place, pristine capitalist, they said the only responsibility of the company is to make money for its shareholders and to maximize the shareholders' wealth. That is their position. Because they said the shareholders have invested risk capital, sweat capital, they pass through a lot of challenges. In a way for them to nurture the company to grow, they face or experience a lot of crisis. Where is government there? So as a result of that, their own view is that the interest of the shareholders alone should be paramount. And anything that comes in form of profit, surpluses or what have you, should go to the shareholders because they are the risk bearer. Any issue of environmental sustainability, building of roads or whatever, let the government create road, build road, rehabilitate and create job. That's the view of the prison capitalist. So interesting. So the second one is expedient view. The expedient view, the scholars here or the group of individuals here, they agree with number 1 view that we call pristine capitalist view. So the expedient view stated that individuals who have expedient view also believe that the main aims of a company is to maximize the wealth of the shareholders. Can you see that they are on the same page? We must say kudos to those people that use their money to invest in business. Yeah, they play tax, they do this, and you are still expecting us. They said we are on the same view, we share the same perception with the pristine capital's view, but with exception. They now say, however, some concessions have to be made at all time to other stakeholders in order to put the company in a stronger position strategically. Meaning that the expedient view, they agree with the pristine capitalist view that the interest of the shareholders is paramount. That anything that comes in belongs to the shareholders. So the issue of CSR should not be celebrated, pronounced, or imposed on any company. But that said, however, due to some circumstances, due to the need to give back to the stakeholders, If there is need to do that, the company must be responsible to their workers. They must be responsible to some stakeholders and the society so that it will put the company in a very strong strategic position against other competitors. So, because the companies will want to associate themselves practically in solving the solution of the society, so they can do CSR. That's the expedient view. The third school of thought, is social contract view. The proponent of the social contract, you can just put social contract view there. So, what the social contract view is telling us is that society play pivotal role in giving the company land, access to water, sea, soil, access to labor, access to electricity, and all other basic resources that God gave them. So, as a result of that, the society have played their role. It is now expected of the company too to reciprocate this good deed of the society by being socially responsible in the area of education, infrastructural facilities, employment creation, entrepreneurial support, and many more. That there is a social contract between the society and the company. So both parties must fulfill their role. The fourth school of thought is social ecologist school. This school is saying that organization must be socially responsible. It's a must. That is what the social ecologist is saying. That it is a must for the company to be socially responsible because they are the one that is causing the menace of environmental pollution. Because they are the one that is exploiting our resources, that making our roads see. So look at the social ecologist view. They said individuals taking this position are concerned for the social environment. Why? They believe that companies and other large organizations has been responsible for creating social and environmental problems. Can you see? So that means they should therefore be held responsible for dealing with those problems and finding solutions to them. You can see empty nylons of pure water everywhere, empty nylon of pet bottle, a lot of environmental pollutions and many more. That it is all these companies that are causing it. As a result of that, they must be responsible to the society. The fifth one is socialist view. The socialist view says that how come the companies are crying? How come the companies are saying that they cannot be responsible and what have you? They said they should be held responsible by force. That is the socialist view. All because they said majority of the people that owns these companies, be it politicians, serial entrepreneurs and what have you, the likes of Dangote, Boa and what have you, they are the one that accumulates the economic wealth of this nation. All the resources of this nation, the wealth of this nation belongs to them. And these are the things that should be distributed equally for all the citizens to gain. Since they have chosen to accumulate all the wealth, they control the economy, they own all the major factory, companies, and the rest, then they should be socially responsible. If not, if they know that they will not be doing social responsibility, there is need to redistribute these assets. Let's take all the assets from them because all the assets, the socioeconomic power, and the strategic position in the country belongs to them. So let there be equitable distribution of these economic resources and assets. If not, they must engage in social responsibility. That is socialist view. So the radical feminist view, number 6. The radical feminist view is saying that majority of the policy of the government favor majorly the male counterpart. Even some of the policy are too aggressive for the opposite gender, which are the female. Some policies are wrong, but nobody to checkmate the government on some of these policies. So these radical feminists, they are now demanding for gender balance and inclusion of female in most of the policy decision in Nigeria, even with regard to CSR and some other laws, including inclusion into political circle. That is what radical feminists, because they said the female gender too, they are gifted. They have vital contributions they can make to economic development of this nation if given the opportunity. So they should not be sidelined. The last one is deep ecologies or deep green. The deep ecologies or deep green is telling us that the issue of social responsibility is beyond paying salary to our workers. So this deep ecologies is saying it here. Look at the last statement in that paragraph, that ethical decisions and social responsibility should be based on concern for all forms of life. That means the CSR, ethical decision, should be all encompassing. It should cover all areas: security, education, animal protection, environmental protection, and many more. So that is what the deep ecologist is saying. Okay, having looked at that, uh, time is running. We quickly look at Johnson and Scholes cultural web. This place, we don't have any problem because there is no way examiners will set question on this without this word cultural web reflecting. Please take notes. If the question comes out, you must see cultural web there. They will mention the name of the scholar. Or yes, if they are silent about the name of the scholar, you'll be informed to either list or explain the six cultural web known to you. But mostly, the examiner will ask you that you should discuss on the Johnson and Scholes cultural web. So it's a direct question because they cannot delete this cultural web. Please take note of that. So you have nothing to be scared of here. You will see that cultural web reflecting in the question. So the Johnson and Scholes cultural web is a theory that is used by corporate organizations, shareholders, and the board of directors to improve the understanding of the company's employees on their values, ethics, philosophy, including vision and mission statements. This cultural web helps us to know the degree of understanding of the company core values. And it is expected that this cultural web should always be re-examined anytime we are having a meeting or doing appraisal or we are evaluating our code of conduct. All the newly recruited staff during induction, they must know this cultural web. We use it to induct them. So what is cultural web? The cultural web consists of six interrelated elements of culture within the organization. Namely, we have number one, routine and rituals. By that routine and rituals, it implies that the daily, weekly, or monthly operational activities of the company. So individual gets used to establish way of doing things, our mode of operation on a daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly basis. That is routine and rituals. Our staff are expected to know this. All the newly recruited staff too, we have to ensure that we inform them about our routines and rituals. That these are our mode of operation, modus operandi. This is what we are expected to do. If possible, we have it in our handbills. Two, stories and myths. Stories and myths. Stories and myths is another thing that we can use to describe the history of the organization. We use stories and myths to describe the history of the organization and to suggest the importance of certain individual or events. So that is enough. What that one means is that with the story and myths, we can use it to tell the newly recruits that this company was established so time. The company was a small and medium scale enterprises. At so time, we have the opportunity for the company to have regional outlets in the north, in the south. At so time, we diversify or merge with another company, or we acquire so company. Let them know about the stories, where the company is coming from before they get to this height, and where we are still aspiring. So that is what we call stories and myths. Symbols too. Under the symbols have become a representative of the nature of the organization. So by symbols, our staff are expected to know what? The company logo, our style of language, style of reporting. They expect to know our company color, the combination of our color, the company motto, the company vision and mission. All these things are what we call symbol. If you have a brand image or brand sign, they are part of the symbol of the company. All our staff must know this. So the power structure too. The power structure is another element of the cultural web. And by that power structure, let them know the hierarchy of power in the organization. So we should inform them that power is earned in this organization. Anybody can occupy a managerial position that will pay for commitment, passions. All productive workers, we are noticing this. We have some people that are manager or directors today, they start with casual workers. So the power structure, the reporting style, the hierarchy of position have to be informed to all the staffs. Together with number 5, organization structure. The structure of the organization, the organogram, the departments that we have, the units that we have, the mode of communication. So all these things must be known by all our staff, shareholders, the new recruits, and all the stakeholders. Together with number 6, the control system. The control system being one of the elements of the cultural web inform us that we must have a good control, effective coordination we have in the organization. So we are doing this for us to harness all our human and material resources. So with this control measure too, we have to inform the staff that the control measure gives us opportunity to reward high performance. In our performance appraiser, individual, in our performance appraiser, under the control measure, we have to inform them that individuals will focus on performance that earns reward. So because these are part of the things that we do to motivate and retain our staff. So the cultural web comprises of 6 elements that test the understanding and enrich the understanding of the workers about the organization, philosophy, and core values. So the 6 elements of the cultural webs are routine and rituals, stories and myths, symbols, power structure, organization structure, and control system. So in line with the cultural web, Johnson and Scholes stated that there are 4 possible ethical stands. So Johnson and Scholes, they say there are 4 possible ethical stands for a business entity. So the 4 ethical stands for a business entities are these. But these ethical stands, we have different perspective or views about them. The 4 ethical stands is that 1, in some companies, their focus is on maximizing short-term shareholders' interest. Maximizing short-term shareholders' interest. That is the ethical stance of some companies. And when we look at this, it is advisable that it is not at all time companies should be paying priority to short-term gains. They must have the desire for long-term profitability and sustainability. Because in the maximizing short-term interest, look at this. They said this stance primarily prioritize the immediate financial gains. That is what it means. Prioritizing short-term shareholders' interest or gains. It prioritizes immediate financial gains and interest of the shareholders. So we often consider it as profit-centric and short-sighted approach because there is lack of long-term profitability and sustainability. Another perspective is maximizing long-term shareholders' interest. This is the best. Maximization of long-term interest will give you opportunity to make some short-term benefits, and at the long run, we make a lot of benefits. We have opportunity for growth, expansion, increase our portfolio of investment and returns. In number 3, ethical stand, that is multiple stakeholders obligation. The more you see multiple stakeholders obligation, what this one is saying is that the company must be responsible to all stakeholders, multiple, all of them, shareholders, stakeholders, vendors, suppliers, the support staff, the security, the community. We have to be responsible to all of them. We have this multiple stakeholders responsibility. So our focus should not be on pristine views that no, it's only the shareholders. No. Why the last one is that being a shaper of the society. Fantastic. Company must be a shaper, contribute to the society well-being and development. So those are the 4 ethical stands. So lastly for today is what we call social footprint. I've mentioned this about 2 or 3 times in the course of our lecture. That's social footprint. Social footprint just means that the evaluation of the significant impact of the organization on the public stakeholders' interests and well-being. So with that social footprint, we are saying that what is the impact of your company? What are your contributions to the society? What are your contributions to the shareholders and the stakeholders or the public generally? That's what we call social footprint. And we must know that this social footprint can be divided into 2. We have positive social footprint, which is the best, and we have negative social footprint. So the positive social footprint comprises of the following. Positive social footprint comprises of the following: 1, employment creation; 2, community development; 3, infrastructural support; 4, tax payment; 5, CSR; 6, support for small and medium-scale enterprises and women entrepreneurs. Another positive social footprint is compliance to regulations. Be a law-abiding, it is positive, and fair competition. All this one is good for the company. It will boost their image, build their business, financial strength, and association with the public. But on the other hand, the negative social footprints, they are not good and we should not encourage it. They even cause reputational risks for the company. It damages the reputation of the company. It affects the performance of the company. So some of the negative social footprints are divestment of investments, liquidation, engaging in illegal business, loan defaults. That one can cause reputational damage. Environmental pollution is negative social footprint, and the reduction in the standard of living of those attached to the company income. That means we don't pay good salary to our workers. We don't even pay them as at when due. Another negative social footprint is reduction in dividends, pension rewards to the workers and the shareholders, tax evasion, and lack of compliance. All these things are negative social footprint that have adverse negative effects on the performance and growth, including the reputation of the company. So, with this, we have come to the end of today's lecture. So, I thank you and salute you for your commitment. God will continue to crown our efforts with success. Wish you the very best and enjoy the rest of your day and other lectures you still have ahead. Is there any question, please?